and speak.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hide and Speak stream. We're vp.net. We're the crew behind the community there. So we stream every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Our topics are privacy, free speech, and internet freedom. These topics affect us all, personally and at scale. So what you could expect from us is a Q&A session. Ask anytime with the capital letter Q and then a colon, space, and then type your message, and we'll select it and it'll pop up on the screen. If at any point in time you want to join the panel, come kick it with us, come hang out, come discuss your points and your perspective on things, we want to hear about it. Absolutely want to hear about it. So if you want to hop on, just shoot us a message anywhere you can find us, and we'll get you going from there. So what you can expect and not expect from our stream is we will not be discussing politics, no religion, anything that's going to cause arguments. Really, we're not going to discuss these things. However, we are open for vast amounts of open discussion. So our opinions are expressed here by the members here of our own voice, of our own volition. They do not reflect vp.net or Hide and Speak stream at all. So I just want to say hello, everybody. We have Chris, Nathan, and Susie here. And today's discussion is we're going to be talking about geofencing, and just a short, like 2-sentence introduction on this. Geofencing, and the discussion that we're looking to have is look at a map, envision a map in your mind, and now draw a circle in any area. Instead of obtaining a warrant to search people's, search whatever it is they may have, they can now get a warrant for areas. And it's not that they can now do it, it's that these things have been possible for a long time. So services like Google, Apple, the apps on our phones, what they do is they record your GPS. And as soon as you cross that barrier into that circle, it notifies things like Google. It notifies things like Apple, Microsoft. It notifies these apps. And they trick you into the basis of, I'm going to drive up to my, to my carport. And before I enter my home, it already knows that I'm there, so it knows to turn the heat on and stuff because it's based off my coordinates. Things like there's just so many uses for this stuff, like walking through a mall and one of the apps on your phone is partnered with, say, Kohl's or something. Not that Kohl's does this, but just for argument's sake here. You walk by one of these places and then a coupon pops up on your phone, or an advertisement pops up on your phone to get you to go into a restaurant or a store, things like this. So this data is being used maliciously without our knowing, without our neighbors knowing, and it doesn't just affect us. And like I said at the beginning of this, it affects us at scale, because think about how big that circle can be. Circle the state of Texas, and there you go. And so today we're going to discuss these things. So we're going to get some viewpoints on how these things affect us and what we can do with these things in regards to privacy. I'm not okay with all my devices telling, God knows who I'm around or what I'm around, and let alone to sell me more things through advertisements. But here's the thing: it's like when it comes to these types of warrants and stuff, it's it violates our Fourth Amendment right, which is we have the right to privacy. We can't be searched unreasonably without a warrant, and this is a judicial warrant. So with this said, it opens up a lot of doors, because anybody can just get a warrant for an area for whatever excuse, and then look into the people that they may have wanted that warrant for in the first place. So it's scary. It's truly scary. So I want to go ahead and first bring you over to you, Chris, and let's get some viewpoints on this. Like, what are your thoughts on this? I know you researched this thoroughly in the last few days, and a lot of the stuff that you brought up to me, before we started the stream, it really brought a lot of awareness to what's actually going on, especially since the increase in volume for like Google giving out information to people. What's your take on this, Chris? You got to touch the mute button there.
Every time, right? So my big issue is, like, typically to get a warrant, you have to, one, have a suspect, actually know who it is that you're trying to look into. Two, have actual evidence that that suspect committed a crime. And three, have the general specifics of the crime, where it happened, when it happened, all that kind of stuff. But this is sort of backwards from that. You know, they just know that a crime was committed somewhere and at some time, which, and sometimes they'll just literally be like, somewhere in this 1 square mile area, you know, sometime on Saturday, something happened. And that's all they have. So they'll go to Google and say, give us the data on every single person that was anywhere inside this 1 square mile, anywhere on Saturday. And then they'll just start looking into all of these people and say, you know, does this fit? Does this guy look like it could be them? Maybe, you know, and often, you know, it's insane because even if they do find the criminal, there might be 9,000 people that were innocent that have now had their privacy violated and been attached to this criminal case and had their information looked at. And, you know, as we see over and over and over, these things always get breached. So it all opens them up to potential identity theft and cybersecurity issues. And they did nothing wrong. Like they're guilty of existing somewhere that somebody else did something bad. And like where it gets really insane is there have even been cases where somebody has a crime committed against them. So say a person gets robbed in public and they get a geofence warrant for that location, and Google sends over the information of everybody who was in that area, which includes the victim, who then there have been cases where they start investigating a victim of being the person who committed the crime against themselves just because Google's like, they're in the area. You know what I mean? So it just shows you how insane that is. Like, if you could accidentally start looking at the person you're supposed to be getting justice for and be like, this might be the guy because Google said they were close by. That's insane. Like that's obviously not as effective of a tool as they might think it is. You know, and you know, it used to be if they knew they thought this is the guy. We have a lot of good evidence. You know, we have 3 suspects said he was there. You know, somebody saw his car leaving the scene. You know, Google, can you verify that that guy was inside that building or in that general location at that time? And Google will be like, yes, he was. And that made sense because they were able to legally acquire a warrant. They knew who the potential guy was. They already had evidence linking him to the area or linking him to the crime. And they could go to a real judge and say, look, we have probable cause that this guy might be the guy. We just want Google to verify that he was there. You know, and that made sense. You know what I mean? That's how law enforcement is supposed to work. But that's not what's going on here. They're just like, just throw a big net out.
Absolutely. Just to give you know, a gist of the numbers here. And it's actually, these are the numbers. So in 2018, there were 982 requests. So these are warrants, you know. 2019 from 982 went to 8,396. In 2020, it went up to 11,554. And then in 2021, Google didn't even report the number. They just said Google reports that 25% of all law enforcement data requests it received were geofence requests. And this is the loophole. This is, oh, we can't get enough on this person or these couple of people here. So let's go ahead and just get the whole area and then target them specifically, which it's a wide cast net for as much data and information that we can get. And now one of the things that we talked about last stream was flock, right? And so, you know, there's a video out there, some lady in Colorado, and I'll show the examples here that you put here, Chris. There's a lady out in Colorado that was in a specific area, and you know, this officer comes up to her and he says, people can't get a breath of fresh air in our town without us knowing about it. Like, why are you bragging about that, first off? But second off, it was because her vehicle was in the area. And that's the thing is, flock, you know, they're in on sharing this data. You know, they're all, it's all one thing. They're all in on this. And it seems like they are utilizing this to the best of their advantage. And the thing is, we don't know about it. You can walk into a park and there could be a geofence warrant on that park, and now all of a sudden you're a suspect because you just want to go for a walk in the park. So that's the thing. That's the level of privacy violation we're working here. This isn't just about law enforcement either. This is about Google, and this is about Apple, and this is about all of these carriers and apps that have this data on us. And here's the thing about the technology, and just the short of it, is that when you go by a location, there's little devices that ping your phone. So the Bluetooth on your phone, the Wi-Fi on your phone, it hits it, and so that your phone knows that there's a Bluetooth thing in range or Wi-Fi in range. but because you walk past that, it's now fingerprinted you. It knows exactly who you are based off of the information that your devices are sending out to them. And it could be your car. It's the 4G in your car. These are all identifiers and stuff that puts you within the range, and especially puts you within the actual circle of what's being surveilled. So this stuff is just, it's increasing, right? The level of warrants is increasing, and that's just the level of warrants. They have what's called emergency law enforcement requests, where they can request the data without a warrant. So it's off the books, and they still get the data and information. So that goes to for private investigators. This goes for a lot of people that we don't even know who they are, but they know who we are, and that's where it's getting kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's what's like really insane about it is, like you said, a lot of this is off the books. Before there used to be a paper trail for everything. Like you had to go and get the warrant from a judge. There's documentation for everything. So if it turns out that it was unlawful, there's evidence of that, and they can look into that. But now this is all sort of happening behind closed doors. You know what I mean? And it's all just done with these tech companies. So there's no visibility or transparency into what's happening. And like you said, maybe Flock is doing it. Birds of a feather flock together. So probably they are involved, but we don't know because there's no transparency on any of this stuff. And like we saw that story with Minnesota where they make these backroom deals where, like, we'll trade you all of our arrest photographs if you give us access to facial recognition. You know what I mean? None of that's legal or lawful. Like, they specifically had an order against that. So that these companies and legal law enforcement institutions are involved in some of these backroom deals that are absolutely not constitutional, and nobody knows what they're doing because there's no transparency there. It's interesting.
That's the worst, is that there's no transparency.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to. What's really interesting, when you mention the crime of the stats, how much it went up from 2018 to 2019, just out of curiosity, like, I wonder what happened with the arrest rates. You know what I mean? Maybe it had a big impact. So I'm looking at FBI.gov, and the arrest rate in 2019 went down for violent crimes, decreased 0.9% compared to 2018. And the arrest of all juvenile offenses decreased 3.4%. And the arrest for all adults decreased 3.7%. So when they went from 982 or whatever it was to 8,000 something of these insane warrants and roped in tons and tons of innocent people, they arrested less people. Like,
well, that's the thing too, is this is around the COVID area, right? The 2019, 2020. And there was, most jurisdictions, they stopped locking people up, especially in California, for things like theft is like $1,000. They raised the limit to $2,000 so that they could stop throwing people in jail because of the whole COVID issue. So there's a lot of things that affect these statistics. But the thing is I'm pro police, right? They hold up the pillars of society. When what we need, it's not all sunshine and rainbows and stuff with it, but there is sunshine and rainbows, right? They're catching some bad people with this stuff. But that's the thing, is there's no transparency on this stuff. If they're going to do these things and be like, hey, we did this, and it kind of looks bad on paper in regards to everybody's rights and the Constitution and people's privacy and the right to move around freely without obstruction. Like, I if I'm driving around now or walking around, it puts me in fear, right? And so without the transparency and like, hey, we did this and we look at how much bad stuff we stopped. Look how we are actually helping our community. That would be good, but there's just none of that, and it's very eye-opening, especially to somebody like me that that lives this. I look into privacy every day. So that's that's what we're dealing with here, guys. What's your take on this, Nathan?
Yeah, well, I guess the one thing that I wanted to bring up here is also the question is, what is the accuracy of this data, right? Like, how it's just a piece of information that's sent from one device to another, which means that data can be faked, right? If somebody has like your cell phone's identification information, they could easily fake your location to be in a situation and put you into bad situations. Like, you could now be on some list. And like we were talking about last week with the facial recognition and the flock cameras, now I can be put on some list against my knowledge and wasn't even at a location, but some crime happened there, and I walk into the grocery store and I'm flagged as a person of interest, right? So I mean, that's what really scares me too. And like the accuracy of these geofences isn't even always that great. You know, we have stories of drone shows or drones crashing into airports because the geofence wasn't working. I just it's all bad in my opinion.
Well, that's the thing, is there's definitely no good that can come from it, right? If you're going to catch bad people, go catch bad people and stuff. Leave the rest of us out of it, I think. And that's kind of where I'm looking at with this. You know, being a list is fine. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's a million different lists out there. You know, you can Google your own name and see like all the information that, you know, that's on you and stuff. Like I've been to places where I was only there for like 2 weeks, and there's no way that anything or anybody knew that I would live there, and it lists that I live there. It's just not possible to have known that. How did they get this data and information? And it's like when I went down that rabbit hole and stuff, I kind of just rubbed my eyes, and because there is no living privately with these types of things. And so those lists do exist. And here's the thing: is like when it comes to these lists, you know, there's things like FOIAs, and then there's also the actual police report that usually it's public, right? And so you can see all the information, everybody's information, just by requesting this information and stuff from the people who put the warrant out there and stuff. And that's even if you can figure out if there's a warrant. So this it's going to open up a lot of, I think, abuse vectors where, you know, it's leading to a path where, you know, if they can do this, who else is doing it, and who are the next guys that are going to be getting this data, and what are they going to do? You know, especially in the age of AI, you know, they get as much information on us as they can just start faking stuff, you know, and it's very worrisome to me. So what's your take on this, Susie? I know that this is a topic of interest for you and stuff. You've had a lot to say about this in the past.
Oh, definitely. I think that, you know, like you said, I was raised to fear and respect authority. I was raised to respect the police, let them do their jobs. And, you know, we got, you know, with the Patriot Act and Citizens United, things like that, we got into this realm of giving up our freedoms and our privacy little by little until it was too much. We're at the point of breaking point right now where we're like, wait a minute, stop doing this to us, because I don't think that it's helping the general public be safer. Number one, yes, I do believe go find the bad guys, go catch those bad guys, focus on them, not us. They're focused on categorizing us, logging us, and making sure we have a log that they could just kind of go pull up a file and go, well, this person was doing all this at this date and time. While I do understand that maybe you'll catch some niche criminals where they got away with shit because they were really good at covering their tracks. I get it. I get that. But at the cost, once again, at the cost of what? All of our privacy, all of our safety, and the ability to abuse that and use it against us when we're just normal people living our daily lives.
Absolutely. And that's it brings up something here, and it's just probably inappropriate, but hey, it's freedom of speech. The movie Scarface, where that detective comes up to Tony Montana and he gives him, you know, the what it is, where he goes, you know, we got all this information on you. He calls him out on all of his bullshit, and then you know, he tells him how this is really going to happen. You know, he's going to throw millions of dollars. And that's the thing. It's like there's a layered justice system going on. We can see it with you know, current events going on. There's a layered justice system. There's the, you know, catch the criminal, go prosecute him, put his ass behind bars. And then there's the other side of things, right? Where they get this data and information where I don't care what people are doing. That's between you and yourself. That's privacy, right? And that's the thing is, I'm not saying this is a big topic of contention here, but that's just a small example of the dual layers of the justice going on here. You know, people get that information, are like, here's what you're going to do. And they're going to extort people. They're not just going to extort them, but they're going to use that against people in the future, especially with this social score system that's coming up. And people can say what they want, but those just straight up took all the data. They came in hot. They got all the data and information that they can, and now they're going to go feed that to an AI system somewhere. And that's the thing is, you know, anybody can collect this data and this information and stuff that's out there. and then they can feed the AIs with it. This it's our voice on it can be as inappropriate and as we want it to be at this point, because what they're doing is probably way worse than what it is that we can see, and we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that there is some wicked stuff going on in the world, and whether the intentions are good don't matter, because the bad outweighs the good with the potential for abuse that's going to go on with this data and information. I see
The
this
road to
data and
hell is
information
paved with
floating
good
around all the time.
intentions.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. It really truly is and stuff, and I think we can make things better. And the first step to it, guys, anybody listening, and you guys are all welcome to hop on the show, ask us anything. If you have a question for us, put a capital Q, a colon, and ask your question there. We'll be happy to put that on the screen for you. So this is a big thing. This is it's very big. It's bigger than what it is that we know, and it's also bigger than what we can do against it. And I think that's really what the issue is with this stuff. So the way this is violating our Fourth Amendment, warrants traditionally must identify a specific person, describe specific evidence, be based on probable cause. Geofence warrants do the opposite. Police draw a circle on a map. Google or any company hands over the data on every device inside of it. Most of those people are innocent. That's the rundown of it. Is location data private? No, it's not. Things like X, things like these other apps, they can scan the Wi-Fi's around you. So even if you spoof your data or spoof your location and things, they know that you're connected to a Wi-Fi that's in an area like, say, Houston or Dallas or New York or anything, and say you can put like, oh, I'm in Zimbabwe. Well, they're like, no, we know that you're not there. We have all the information of where you're around, and it's pinging constantly. So taking this in mind, it really raises the question, what can we do about it? And that's one of the questions that I want to ask you guys is, what can we do about this? Chris, is there anything that you can think of, or any suggestion that you have to even us or the people out there? I mean, here's the thing, is like, when I'm looking at this stuff, I'm looking at zero trust technologies, with VP. I'm looking at our devices not sending out any signals that aren't authorized. And that's just too hard to do for the average user out there. For somebody who has a phone in their hand, they don't know what's going on with that stuff, let alone how to turn it off. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. The problem is they're using so many different technologies to do all these things at this. So it is possible to, go under the radar and not be subject to these things, as long as you don't mind, greatly affecting how you do everything, basically, how you live your life. And you can do it, but if just not having a Google account at all is actually a really difficult thing to do now for a lot of people. Like, sometimes your job, you might be required to. A lot of schools, you're required to have a Google account. So some people have no choice. They have to be connected to
Microsoft.
Google. Yeah, Microsoft, exactly. There's certain things that are so embedded into our culture that you can go without them, as long as you don't mind living like Ted Kaczynski out in the woods, and everybody will call you a freak. You know what I mean? And that's why it's
I don't
really,
mind.
really difficult.
And
So-
that's funny. We have a comment on there that says, "This is why I never leave the woods and stuff." Right? Exactly. It pushes us into social isolation.
I
I
mean,
like the woods.
Yeah, that's
It
actually a
doesn't spy
great
on me.
comment. It's funny because it do be like that.
Trees don't
and
spy on you.
Exactly right. The trees aren't sending data to your brains and your phones and everything. So we have a question here. Are we able to pull that up from Mrs. CMS? The SLNT Faraday bags useful to block geofence warrant exposure? Yes, there you go. That's where one of these cases come to be, that the Faraday bags around your devices, those will block the signals. But here's the thing, is like, you got to keep in mind your cars, your vehicles and things like that, and other people's devices around you that may not be in a Faraday bag. Those are also going to put you in that location. Like when your car drives by, and even if it has XM radio, and that's the thing, is it's going to be pinging these cell phone towers. It's going to be pinging a satellite, for God's sake, and they can get that information. And here's the thing, is like, if you really want to see this information for yourself, and this is for the tech guys out there, install Kali Linux, and you can run some aircrack ng on there, And then you can see all the information, like Ashley's car drives by. It's like, I don't know who Ashley is, but I know her car just drove by. And it's because her phone is broadcasting this stuff. You know, it's one command that you have to type to see this stuff with a single Wi-Fi antenna. So it's this is how it is. And it's not just how it is. It's something that we can't control.
It's increasing.
If you can figure out how to put a Faraday cage or a Faraday bag around your car, I would really like to see that stuff. Like I'm going back to my take on this is that you know, rolling around in hamster balls may be our only option.
Yeah, and I mean, think, this brings up a really good point here too, where it's like it's not like it's just the police using this, getting this information, right? Google is giving this information out to the highest bidder. So, I mean, there's companies and corporations that will geofence areas and then target those people that have gone to that area with ads. Or, you know, like Shane just said, anybody with the technical knowledge can start collecting information from everybody around them. So
your insurance companies are going to do it.
Right. Oh, exactly. That's a great point. It's who has access to all this data. It's not like it's just being used for good. It's going to be mostly used for bad.
They're studying you because
look
so
at the
they
story.
can charge you more.
Yeah, look at the story we just did recently where Uber is basically selling people's data now. So if you're an Uber driver, they're basically keeping all of your location data and they're selling that to advertisers through their own advertising platform. And they're also selling like all of your purchases, everything. If you're the customer, they're letting them know, hey, you know, he really likes to have tacos at 11 p.m. on Tuesday nights. So maybe about 10:30, send him an ad for tacos on Thursday. You know, so it's insane. And there's so many it's coming from so many places that like you don't, it's so hard and you don't realize it. I mean, now we live in a time where you just walk down the street and you walk by a Tesla, you might show up on as many as 9 different cameras that are now connected to a geolocation. That happens. Like, you know what I mean? Like every camera you're walking by, like if it's a security camera for a business, they obviously know where that business is. You know what I mean? Like, so it's almost impossible to live a normal life and not constantly have location information about you collected all over the place from all angles. So
you won't know where it's coming
from. You could get roped into an investigation just based on something you have no control over is insane.
And here's the thing, like here's an argument with this stuff is like most people just won't care. They're like, well, I'm not doing anything bad, right? So but the argument against that really is, here's the thing is like, I myself don't really mind if the good guys have this information, right? They got to do what they got to do. That's part of my brain that says that. It's like, okay, but that's not me accepting it. Internally, I can't accept it because I know what happens with this data and information. It ends up in the hands of shadow brokers and data brokers and anybody that wants this information to do whatever they want with. And yeah, that's what I'm saying with hackers. And all you have to do is walk around with a modified cell phone and you can pull people's credit cards information just like that. You know, that's why they switched these NFC chips and stuff, because people were walking by and putting cards, like putting a reader right at somebody's pocket and just, you know, grab all of their credit card information. Your cell phone is doing that at a wider range. There's the wideband frequencies that it's using. No, and I like that. I like the idea of the big battery pack and stuff. But here's the thing: is if you're really going to be going that private life with the private technologies and stuff, you got to really be about it and live that life. What are you paranoid from, and what are you trying to? What is it that you do on a regular that you know you have to go take the extra steps to live this life? And here's the thing, it's like, you know, we all have to be, you know, productive members of this world. We have to contribute. We have to be good people. But let me just say this, there's a lot of bullshit going on and I don't agree with it. And I don't expect any of you to agree with it either. So the Stacy once collected information like this. What is this information?
Stasi. The
Stasi. Well, what is, I'm not up to speed on this, on this. Can you elaborate?
Those Nazis, right?
It's the
was that the Nazis?
Like the way that the Nazi party
the secret police. Yeah,
that's a secret police. Yeah.
So so Nazis, got it. Yeah. So if I look at the news today and I see like Elon Musk doing his, you know, little that there's some stuff going on. So yeah, this is if it's linking to Nazis and everything. Here's the thing is that the police and stuff, they can use that excuse that, hey, we're seeking after a Nazi and then get one of these geofence warrants. They literally put an invisible barrier around you to
Whoa.
link you to terrorist groups. And I just saw a video the other day, and this really concerns me, because the guy turns around and goes, "You're in a database now. You're now a domestic terrorist." Like, what the fuck? How am I a domestic terrorist by just being here? And that's the thing, is it do be like that.
Well, and I wanted to bring up one thing too. It's like the people who are, implementing them, the companies and the governments that are implementing this type of technology don't even really understand. There's the idea that the internet is undefeated, right? So there was this company called Strava, and it's like a fitness app, right? And they released something where they put all these, they show the global heat map of where people are working out and when they're working out. And then, what happened was that our military members were using the app, and they were running around our military bases all over the world. And then our enemies took that information and said, "Oh, this must be where the US military base is." So all of, like, in Syria and Afghanistan, because soldiers were jogging around the perimeter and they were, using the app, and now anybody who wants to get that information can get it. So it's not even like the people who are collecting all this information are intelligent enough to understand how it can be used against them.
And that is the case there, and it's really, really concerning that it could be anybody, like a member of Congress can be in a certain area and stuff, and then all of a sudden they're pulling this information from Congress for political reasons. And what I really want to know is if they're doing this in the name of protecting the people, serve and protect, things like this, what are you protecting us from? What are you protecting us against? And why do we have to be at the helm of, I'm sorry, but when I see a geofence like this, that's just a circle of danger to me, right? I don't trust anybody out there in the real world. Like, it's just, this world's just way too unpredictable and unstable. And it scares living daylights out of me. It truly does.
It reminds me of, like, you have, for years we heard stories where people that visited certain websites or read certain blogs or whatever were immediately added to various different government watch lists. And like some of them were literally just about encryption, cypherpunk websites, not anything bad, nothing, not black hat, no hacking, anything like that. Literally just talking about how to protect yourself online. And they were using that as a reason to put people on various blacklists and say that you were a certain type of person because you were viewing this content. And, and there was, I think Linux Journal was one of them. Like, they were literally putting people on lists for looking at Linux websites, which was like, it really, really insane. And it really reminds me of that, like, just because you're viewing something doesn't mean that you're instantly a criminal, especially like they were taking people who have viewed a website about an operating system that some people use when they're doing illegal activities. And they're like, yeah, that's good enough. They might be a criminal. Let's put them on the list. And this is no different than that. This is just saying, because you existed near a certain location, you might be a criminal. And that's just insane, because you think about it, like, what happened back then was a lot of security researchers would get swept up. People who were actually investigating bad websites or trying to shine a light on bad things that were happening end up getting swept up and considered a criminal just because they were, referenced as being near there or looking at those websites. And that's the same thing that's happening now. Like, you could have, a private investigator or, a whistleblower who's looking into some sort of corruption case. And just because they're in that location, now all of a sudden they're a part of that corruption case. You know what I mean? And just your location, that's not that. There's so many more elements involved. So to take just that one single thing and say that's good enough to open an investigation on you and to violate your privacy and pull all this information on you, that's just madness. Like,
it is madness. And here's the thing: is I'm very pro technology. I love this stuff. And reading over the comments here from Anonymous Ninja here, talk about the pocket computers as a phone, using Raspberry Pi and using anonymous VPN between SIP, trunking server, and self-hosted PBX. Wi-Fi must continually change MAC and other identifiers. See, I want to hear more from you. I'd like you to hop on maybe our Discord or Telegram or something, or even, ping us somehow to where we can contact you, because you got that mind that I enjoy. I like that. I like to have conversations with people like you. And when we come to this, Chris and I do a lot of research and development. That's the thing, is a lot of the times and stuff, we have to do this research and development in secrecy. And secrecy is You can't afford to have other people know these things that you're working towards, because it is for systems security. It is for infrastructure security. We do have the right to protect our own property, and we have the right to protect ourselves. So if you can pop up his question here, Anonymous Ninja asks, if you can't convince people to be careful enough to not die in Darwin Award, winning preventable ways, e.g. no helmet while a bike, then how can you convince someone to be careful for their privacy? Here's the thing. The answer to that is,
Oh, we lost your mic.
Just lost your audio, Shane.
well, okay, sorry about that.
Oh, you're back.
We do the research and development. You create it for them. You don't even have to convince them. Is it still no sound?
You're good.
You're good.
No,
You're
you're
good now. You're good.
Okay, it's just she's a while back on the stream. Okay, so when we create these things and open source them, you just have to simply just write up a little article on it. If they're meant to find your tools and meant to find the things that you create or promote and the things that you write about and put out there and discuss like this on stream, you can't convince anybody to do anything, right? But you can create these tools, you can create these platforms, you can give them an access point into the world of this awareness and invite them in kindly. That's really all you can do. And I think that's all we can do, is just invite people into this lifestyle kindly, and just show them these cool tools. Like, that's the thing, is like these. I just coded something yesterday and stuff that has to do with like zero trust privacy, working with TPMs, things like this. And if I go out into a convention or something that's not very much tech related, but even kind of is, I can say some of the stuff that I'm creating and developing, and some of the things that even VP is working on behind the scenes, and people will look at me like, what? But now if you actually create it for them, deliver it, put it there, not even just as a product, right? I'm talking open source things here. Give it to them, and then they can better explain. The only way that they can really be convinced is for them to see it for themselves. Like, if you give them an app or something that shows exactly what's pinging their phone and why it's pinging their phone, and then who's behind that stuff. Like, my phone, if I look at it at the router level, is sending out data and information to Google. And this is just my Google Pixel phone. It's sending it out like every 10 seconds. And it's sending out stuff that I don't know what it is. I see like Google Analytics, things like this. I'm not some number in a system. And that's the thing. I think the best way to convince you all, or anybody listening, is that you're not a number in a system. You're a human being. Nothing more needs said. You're a human being. All right, let's push on to the geofence warrants and stuff. This you did quite a bit of research into this, Chris. So, is there anything that's like really like that stands out, like the sore thumb of this? Because we know it's happening. We know the data is being leaked and being sent out to God knows who. Is there anything that kind of stands out that people should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, just there's been a bunch of notable cases where a lot of people have gotten scooped up in this sort of thing. Like there's one guy who was just riding his bicycle, and next thing you know, he's like the top suspect in a bank robbery. And literally, he just rode a bicycle. That's all the guy did. But it's one of those situations. They immediately arrest you for that. You're on the front page of the newspaper. Everybody in your hometown thinks you're a bank robber now. Your job, they're like, I don't want to be associated with this guy. Sorry, you can't work here anymore. You know what I mean? Your whole life starts falling apart because you went for a bike ride one day, which is, you'd think a nice, healthy activity, but it could literally destroy your life because you went through the wrong location, apparently. You know what I mean? And there's so many cases. I was shocked. Like when I first started looking at that, I was like, I wonder if this has ever happened. I wonder if, anybody's gone to trial over something. And I couldn't even figure out which one to pick. There was just dozens of, it just kept going and going, page after page in Google forever, just one after another, people that have been scooped up this thing. And not just like, when I first looked at it, I thought it was just like, okay, so they look at your data, they realize you're there, and maybe somebody could hack and get that data. And that kind of seemed like the worst risk. I'm like, surely they look into it and realize that's not the guy. You know what I mean? They're not going to arrest no, they're absolutely arresting the wrong person, like very regularly. You know what I mean? And it's funny because you look at it, and as those have gone up, the arrest rate has gone down. And like, so you mentioned COVID, but like That was 2019. It wasn't until the end of 2019. So the 2019 data should be like the last year that was accurate. Then 2020 should get weird. But for 2018, there was 982 of these searches, and then 2019 there was 8,396. But the overall arrest rate went down 4.7%. So it's like not only is it not working, it might actually be making things worse because now in an investigation before, maybe they have 2 or 3 suspects because they did real police work and found, witnesses or whatever. They found real stuff linking somebody to a crime. Now a crime is committed. Like, okay, we have 75,000 suspects. You know what I mean? And now somebody has to go through all of these 75,000 people. What if it happens in Times Square? Do you have any idea how many people walk through Times Square in just 1 hour? You know what I mean? If they do a geofence in Times Square, it's going to be mind-boggling. They're going to need a team of people working around the clock, just going through, trying to cross names off the list, just to narrow it down. You know what I mean?
Here's
So
the thing is,
not only
I don't know, but the AI knows, and the AI is going to be sifting through those 75,000 people, or that 1.5 million people, or that 3 million people that walked through this area, and see how many of those are unique and how many of those, and break it down. You can use the AI to crunch this and rule things out. Process of elimination. I think that's what the world's playing with right now is all this data and information that's out there, because this is the historically this is the biggest time I've ever seen in this world, in my lifetime especially, of the need for data, the need for people's information, the need for those patterns that are out there so that they can better understand something, or so that they can have their systems better understand something. And it's bullshit. That bicycle thing, and like how I mentioned here with the multi-tiered justice system, is like, here's the thing: you get arrested for a bank robbery like that. Cool, you beat the charge. I spoke with somebody. I was like, "Did you beat the charge on that? Like, what happened?" And they're like, "Yeah, but I still had to go to jail." Yeah, you still had to go to jail, and now that stuff is public record. It's your face is on a fucking website. Sheriff Joe Bob, high and mighty, and it's got some stupid 1990s website where everybody's pictures go. And that's the thing is it doesn't matter if you were charged, if you're innocent or guilty. Now you're fucked, because anybody that Googles that stuff is just going to automatically get their own narrative on you. And that's you can ruin somebody's life just by slapping those handcuffs on them. And that's in multiple ways. And I think they know that stuff. And I think that's one of the scariest issues now, especially with what's going on in the news now, is you can be out there as a regular person, a bunch of people start rioting around you and stuff. Guess what? You were in that area. You just you just January 6th that, and you were innocent the entire time.
Okay, so here's a hypothetical situation, but like this is based on like actual things that happen. So we were talking last week and the week before about how you can take bits and pieces of somebody's online profile and selectively pull pieces together to like sort of craft a narrative that's actually not true. But if you pick the right things out, you can make it look like a person believes a certain thing. Well, now think about that for location data. Like think about somebody whose location data shows that he regularly is going down to areas where a bunch of drug addicts and homeless people are hanging out. He's regularly spends a lot of time in a really bad neighborhood. Looks like he lives down in this neighborhood that's full of like crack houses and all kinds of gang activity. He's regularly be seen over at the courthouse or at the hospital. So this might look like somebody really bad. It could literally be a priest who has a church down in a bad neighborhood and who's going out every day risking his life to try to help people. But if you look at his location data, it's like, this is clearly a degenerate drug addict. You know what I mean? And like that's what the police would see when you just look at that without the context of who is this actual person. And like that's what like Susie says, like we're people. We're not just like a list of stats and information. Because when you just take those little bits and pieces, you might look like a terrible person specifically because you're such a great person, which is just, it really makes it insane.
It is insane. And it's really insane. Susie, what do you think? What are some ways that people can become aware of this?
Honestly, it's the awareness is there. We see it every day. We see it in the news. Like you said, a few examples would be, like January 6th or the Luigi Mangione guy, where we were on this manhunt, this search, and they went through every person that walked by that day, every camera. And I understand that they're looking for the bad guy. They're trying to catch the bad guy. That's great. I that's what we want, right? And not to be political about all that, but you know what I mean? It's like they want to, that's what we have these things for. But how many innocent people did they go through? How many innocent lives did they just dig through to figure out, to see about it? And how many times have they went and you, like you said, arrested a guy and turned out to not be the guy because he looked a little like him and he was wearing the same backpack. Remember there was a huge talk about the backpack. There was a huge thing about his I think he was his hat, the Luigi guy. How many people got scrutinized wearing that common jacket that he was wearing? And not even to go on that case particularly, there's so many other cases. How about if you were just, walking while black, not to get into racism or anything, but there is a big deal about that.
It's not racist. Here's the thing: is it do be like that?
It's like that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just say it. If you're walking while black, they're gonna look at you and go, "Well, how many other black people do you look like?" And when you have, they've even said that facial recognition can't even. Let's rephrase that: African Americans or people of dark skin, even because if you can be Hispanic and be very dark skinned, or Indian, Native American, their faces don't get scanned the way that lighter complexions do, because of the fact that it takes, the cameras aren't that great sometimes, and people get identified all the time. And then when you
And
get
that's the thing is I've seen this misidentification. I've seen like the photos of these people and they look almost identical and things like this. And I've seen some ones that like it ruled everybody else out and shows this person is now the person of interest, and they're the ones that are on trial for things, and they're of a completely different skin color from the person that it actually was and stuff. So that's the
maybe
thing
the
is like
camera
when
was dark that day.
Right. Here's the thing is it could be anything. The technology just it isn't perfect. And I'm sure it's getting better with the facial recognition, the analyzing your cheekbones and the way you walk and your eyebrows and your eyes, things like this. I don't know how
It's
exactly
the
how it works.
distance between your eyebrows and your nose bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's your unique fingerprint in your world. And that's not who you are. You're not a gap between your eyes and the bridge of your nose and things like this. But according to these systems and according to these cameras, they kind of see us that way. It's dehumanizing. It's immoral.
You see what just
It is
happened
immoral.
though? Like you're somebody who cares a lot about privacy, as we all do here. But what they've done is they've created a situation where inhumane things are happening. So naturally, we want to find a solution. So we're trying to think of it. And one thing we point to is, well, the technology is just not that good. So it's not accurately catching the faces. So what is naturally their solution to that? Oh, you're right. We need much better facial recognition technology. We got to invest heavily in. So and that's kind of what they do is they'll put out a system that's half baked, knowing it's going to fail miserably, because when it does that, a lot of the people who initially would have fought back against it are now going to be looking for a solution on how to keep it but make it better. And like that's what they've done. If they could convince privacy enthusiasts like us to start thinking, well, how could that work better? How could we make that work? The answer is we got to get rid of it completely. It just doesn't work. But that's what they do. They create a situation where it seems so terrible that we try to find the solution, and then it often gets people to just completely skip the part where we say, no, we don't want this at all.
We should be allowed to opt out, honestly, and I don't know how we would be able to when you can't walk down your street without 80 cameras picking you up. And if they're getting the more high-tech stuff, they're getting the facial recognition stuff out there more often. How often is your face going to get scanned where, I just want to be able to go to the store and buy some groceries and not have something log every step I take. I don't know why that's so much to ask.
Well,
And
and like
it's the
the
thing is,
argument against this is always people will say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you have nothing to hide, right?
I've
I think
said that before.
Right. I've said that before in my life too, right? But now, like what
I
we've
don't
been
say
talking
that
about, it
anymore.
showed you that you can be doing nothing wrong and now your life can be ruined. Like Shane was talking about, if you get slapped in the newspaper or the news or whatever, and they're saying, oh, this guy's a bank robber, the retraction 3 weeks later by the newspaper is not going to be seen by anyone. But whenever you search yourself on Google or wherever, it's going to come up with that headline, probably for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I've had it happen where, oh, what's this? Let's see about this.
It's from Edward Snowden. Arguing that you don't care about the right to privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different than saying you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say. And I like that quote. I love that quote.
I love that.
And what bothers me the most about this geofencing stuff, guys, is that, and I have a love for the cypherpunks. I have a love for anonymity. And I like privacy because I like having secure systems. And it's just how my engineering brain works. And with this said, like,
be that way.
Anonymity is the right to be nobody. Like, that's the thing is, if you want to be nobody, especially if it's just for a day, if you want to be nobody for 3 months, that should be you. And that's the thing is, we're not who we think we are. You know, we're born, we're given a name and stuff. You're not your name. Who you are is who you are. It's underneath, right? And this philosophy goes deep and everything, so I won't lead into it. But with anonymity, you do have the right to be nobody, and with privacy, you do have the rights. And these are like spiritual, human rights, right? This isn't government given, or this is what we were born into. You have the right to, if you want to have a little workshop and work on creating some cool robots or something like that, everybody else can just kind of fuck off. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. It's like, just because you're in a circle doesn't mean you're the bad one. And that's the thing is, like, you shouldn't have to prove your innocence with these things. You shouldn't have to prove anything. And it's really, you know, this limits our freedom. This does limit our freedom of speech, because people change when they know they're being watched. But also, you know, what does that Snowden quote mean to you guys?
Honestly, you hit it right there. Is you know, you have that, you want to be a nobody. Think about it like this. Think about, you know, let's go to get some examples of like celebrities like Britney, like people who cracked under the pressure of being constantly watched and scrutinized every moment of their lives. So what happens when you walk out your door and, you know, you're not necessarily got these cameras in your face where they're just flashing in their eyes, you know, and making them, you know, not even be able to see when they drive. But let's say we have, you know, you're walking out your door, but there's all these things pinging at you. There's all these things coming at you, and you may not notice it, but it's happening. And eventually you're going to notice how bad it is once it does get that bad. And you're going to start feeling like them. You're going to start feeling watched. You're going to start feeling like you have nothing, you know, you can't have an ordinary life like you used to.
And that's the thing is, it is like that. And it's already at that level. We have the statistics, we have the numbers, we have the cases, we have the technology know-how. We know how these things are happening, and we do know how to prevent these things. We're going to go ahead and take an intermission here. We're going to get some water, freshen up a little bit, and then we're going to come back. We're going to discuss some special guests that we have coming up in the oncoming streams, and we're excited and looking forward to talking to you guys about that. So we'll see you in 5.
T-minus 3 minutes.
need. Showing ads for the things that you don't really need. They want all the data, they want your ID, but I've got some news that just won't work for me. So I encrypt the connection and cover my tracks. We get to the truth and we stick to the facts. We build a safe place where the speech is always free, where cypherpunks go to just hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, that is our choice. Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean not having a voice. Hide and speak, what you want to share is only
T-minus 1 minute.
Look, the world is exposed, yeah, the walls are thin. Everybody posting every place that they've been. Trading privacy for likes, that's a heavy cost. In the ocean of data, the person gets lost. So we flip the switch, yeah, we go underground. Moving through the silence without making a sound. Not hiding because you are doing something wrong. Just defending your rights before they are gone. The room is secure, so let the session start. Speak from the brain or speak from the heart. Tell us your story, we unlock the doors. We invite the guests, and yeah, the
30
floor is
seconds.
yours. You can keep the mask on, keep it low key. Privacy is priceless, but opinions are free. We amplify the voices that they try to call weak. Welcome to the stream, time to hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, it's our choice.
10, 9,
Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean
7,
having a voice.
6, 5,
Hide and
4,
speak, what you
3,
wanna share is only your choice.
1.
Hide and speak.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for watching our stream. We just want to say if you guys have any questions or if you want to join us here on the show, feel free to shoot us a message anytime. You know, we'll phase you in and just get your viewpoints and topics on these discussions. Today we're discussing geofencing, and just to give you the gist of it, it's a big circle on a map where they don't need a warrant for one specific person, but they have a warrant on a location and they can get everybody's information. Here's the thing, there's quite a bit of controversy on it, and it's a hard topic to discuss because it takes a lot of technical knowledge on how this data and information gets to not just law enforcement, but anybody. And here's the thing is the answer to this, the solution to this is simply just the word no, as in it needs to stop, but we can't make it stop, or can we? And so that's why we discuss privacy, and that's why we discuss anonymity, and that's why we have this stream is to push for the freedoms that we don't just deserve, that we have, that are being blatantly stepped on and violated. So in 2018, Google had 892 warrants for the geofencing data. By 2019, it had 8,396. By 2020, it had 11,554. And in the 2021, Google reports 25% of all law enforcement data requests it receives were geofence requests. So it's a wide cast net to, for whatever reasons that catch everybody in that location. So here's the thing is to really combat against this, we need heroes. And that's the thing in this world. And I see the police as heroes, right? They hold up the pillars of society, and they're not just a solution to the wicked in this world. They're all we have. So there's a lot of loaded thoughts and perspectives on what's going on, and a lot of people just simply don't care. But that's the thing is we care, and people should care, and there are solutions to these things. But when it comes to heroes, we have this weekly segment that honors someone fighting for privacy, free speech, and internet freedom. We want to go ahead and can we roll the clip for that?
We look for the champions leading the way. Go fight for your internet rights every day. It's freedom and justice that we truly seek. We salute the hide and speak hero of the week.
Today, we're celebrating someone who's become one of the most influential voices in the modern fight for digital privacy, Naomi Brockwell, founder of NVTV and the Ludlow Institute. Naomi spent more than a decade educating the public about how to protect their rights in the digital age. Through NVTV, she's created some of the most accessible, practical, and empowering privacy content available today. Her work goes far beyond tutorials. Naomi is the president and founder of the Ludlow Institute, a nonprofit dedicated to advancing human freedom through technology. The Institute's mission is rooted in a simple but powerful idea. Technology should empower individuals, not enable surveillance. Naomi has been a consistent, fearless advocate warning about the dangers of government and corporate surveillance, the erosion of autonomy, and growing threats posed by centralized digital systems. She's spoken extensively about issues like CBDCs, data collection, and the surveillance state, always emphasizing that privacy is not about hiding, it's about protecting human dignity and freedom. Before launching NBTV, Naomi worked at the New York Bitcoin Center, produced award-winning documentaries, and collaborated with major journalists, all while championing tools and technologies that help people reclaim control over their information. And what makes this recognition even more special is that it came from the community itself. Someone on X nominated her for the Hide and Speak Hero of the Week because of the sheer volume and quality of the privacy content she's created. That says everything about her impact. Naomi Brockwell has helped millions understand that privacy is a fundamental human right, and she's given them the tools to defend it. That's why she's our Hide and Speak Hero of the Week.
From all of us at Hide and Speak and at vp.net, we want to say thank you. As this week's Hide and Speak Hero of the Week, Naomi will receive 1 free month of VPN service from vp.net, the only VPN that you don't have to trust because it can't spy on you.
Hide and Speak Hero of the Week.
And heroes indeed. And that's one big thing that we have behind this stream is that we do acknowledge you heroes out there, people that actually stand up for these things and people that you can really follow and get behind. That was a great video, Chris. Here's the thing is with the cypherpunks and the cypherpunk movement that they created way back when, there's really amazing technology out there. There's really amazing technology that even I don't understand because it has such advanced mathematics behind it. And not just mathematics, but precision on execution and how it works and how those systems work. And now we see these systems out there that it's intrusive. It's violation to just our personal space. Like it makes us feel wary and sick inside. And that's the thing is, however we feel about it, it's happening. So we want to say thank you also to the community out there, the cypherpunks, and the people who seek true anonymity. And that's the thing is, just because you're not here with us and you may feel like you don't have a voice, just understand that we see you because we know that you're there. And I think that's the most important thing is that, if I had true anonymity away from these little bubbles of warrants for geofencing and stuff, I would want to have a voice. And here's the thing is, I do have a voice. And we all have a voice. And I think that's the most important thing. If any of you want to hop on, give us some perspective. Like, you know what? Give me the devil's advocate on things. I want to hear some arguments against for some of these things. And if you feel like you can shut me down in any ways with an argument or anything, bring it on. Here's the thing is when we come on this stream, it's not that we want to be right. It's not that we are right. It's that we want to be wrong because we don't want these things happening out there. It's maniacal, it's insane, and these are just the nice words for it. It really truly is. So we're looking to do this Hero of the Week. Just know that we see you, you are acknowledged, you are very much loved, and we appreciate everything you're doing. So thanks again for BP. So welcome back. Let's just open this up for some open discussion. Like, Chris, this is all some wild, crazy stuff. Like, what are we looking at for the future of things?
Yeah, it's I think you got to think about the guy last week from Bend, Oregon, Jonathan, and I think that's the only path forward is that people really need to learn how to get involved in their local community, get involved in the politics, and start pushing back. And like his biggest thing when he started pushing back on flock safety is the politicians were like, I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know it was this bad. They were like, this is going to help people, so we're like, sure, I'll sign right there if I want to help people. And that was the thing. They have no idea what the technology is doing. And I would be surprised if that's not also true about this. You know what I mean? And the problem is we just need somebody to inform them. Somebody has to care enough in every little local community out there in every state to go and to fight back and inform the politicians, say, this is what you voted for. This is what you have done. This man right here had his life ruined because you voted for that. Because you didn't actually read into what it was that you were voting for. Here's a person who just lost his job because he went to visit his grandmother last Tuesday because you voted for that. You know what I mean? When somebody actually presents it to them, shows them what their decisions are actually doing, a lot of times they're just like, I didn't realize that and I'm not for that. You know what I mean? So that's what we need. We need people to actually get involved and go down to their local meetings and speak out and let people know what it is that's happening here and try to initiate change that way. Because like we can't fight it on an individual level as far as like each individual can't like prevent this from happening to them. We actually have to fight it within the system. We have to get the system to make it illegal, to remove them, so that it's just not possible for anybody.
And that is the only way. And it's I saw that it takes like whatever the politician was, whether it was a mayor or something like that, city council or something, they'll only do something when they get like a limit of 1,000 to 10,000 signatures or calls and things like that. Then they start taking it seriously. So you kind of have to have this really really loud voice to where you can get people behind this stuff so that you can get those signatures, so that you can get this presented to the right people, and so that you can bring these topics up, and so that a decision can be made on them. In Bend, Oregon, there they got rid of those flock cameras and stuff. That's actually a push back, and it's a push in the right direction for all of us. So it's a great thing. We have a comment here from Linda's. If
That's
says,
Jonathan from Bend, Oregon.
Is it?
That's
awesome.
the boy we were just talking about. Yep.
Awesome. Welcome to the stream. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see you. I look forward to maybe even meeting you one day in real life and stuff, because that's the thing is, you're a hero to us, and you're a hero to many people, and you're a hero to many people in the sense of they don't know exactly what it is you're fighting for. And so just hello to you, and welcome to our stream. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, I think one of the greatest things about this whole hero of the week thing that we're doing is it shows people that one person can make a change. Like, so much of what all of this tech dystopian stuff is trying to do is like neuter the person and society. We always talk about, when you're being watched, people act differently, right? But what these heroes really do is show that you still have a voice and you can make a change as just one person, as an individual. And I think that's the real important message that we need to be putting out is don't give up. Don't be neutered or silenced. Use your voice.
And that's the thing too, is we talk about self-isolation and social withdrawal and stuff, because it's scary. It's, all these things are scanning us and beeping our things with random signals and things. I used to believe that you can change the world, and then I saw what's really going on in the world, and then I kind of accepted defeat and said, I can't. It's too hard. It's too big of a world. It's just there's too much going on for me to focus on these things, and it's hard. And so I thought that the only way that we can change the world is by changing ourselves. And I think that was the first step in my journey. But then to see that you can change these things in your community it gives me hope that we can change things in this world, that we're not just some numbers and some data and some algorithm somewhere, and that we can begin to open our eyes and remember that we're human, and that our neighbors are human, and that there's great in this world. And that's the thing, is all this data and information, they're looking for the bad things. Well, how about us as humans that are looking around for the good things? And I think that's why we're here. We can look around at each other, and we can see the good in each other, and we can see the good in the things that we're trying to do with love and positivity. It's a great thing, because here's the thing is we can be some hacker punks and things like this, create development tools that go shut these signals down and stuff like that, and fight the man, fight the system. No,
You're
it's not
playing
like that.
whack-a-mole.
It's not like that. It's not like the movies and stuff. It's just, it really comes down to values, and it comes down to values and what it is that we're willing to put up with. But that's the thing is, like, if I had children, even my family, even, Susie, I love dearly. If I go places with them, I don't want those systems scanning my loved ones and stuff and getting as much information on that as possible. I know one thing is, I know that if you make true enemies in this world, they go after the things you love and the people that you love. And that's just not something I'm willing to put up with. It's truly not something I'm willing to put up with. And like I said, when it comes to these things, the answer is no, because it could be, paved with good intentions, whatever whatever it may be. I have yet to see the data on how these things like Flock and these surveillance systems and stuff, how they're benefiting the world. Like, are you catching these cartel human traffickers? Are you really protecting us? And that's the thing is, I don't think so. I think there's more things going on, and they're protecting themselves, and we're just the collateral damage, because to whoever's behind these things and whoever supports these things, they don't care about you, they don't care about us. And I simply just don't agree with that.
Indeed. Honestly, there's so much where, you really can't know how much they're studying you and studying everything all the data that they can collect. And that's the problem, is that they're more focused on that, and they're investing more money in that and in these data centers to store it all and to be able to process it all, instead of just catch the bad guys, please. Instead of just protect our children, just protect our people, protect us from robbers and from, the cartels and, people that have bad intentions, these hackers that are now more selling our data and intercepting our data more than ever.
Can we go ahead and leave that comment up there from that? Ben has the
What was that?
ALPR legislation. Yeah, let's leave that up there just so people can have a gander at this and stuff. Like, that's the thing. If they want to bend the rules per se to get what they want, here's the thing: is we could bend the rules right back to favoring the people. Why do these things exist to favor themselves and favor the systems themselves rather than favor the best intentions of the people? And that's the thing, is like, I don't know about the legislation behind these things. We appreciate you coming on here. I know I know you have prior commitments and your time schedule is booked, but we want to say thank you again. And we want to say that, Bend, Oregon there, that is a great starting point. The world should get to know and see how these things come to light and make change. That's a beautiful and wonderful thing. I think that's just amazing.
Bless you,
Thank
man.
you so much.
Yeah, and just to touch on what
Excellent.
Susie just said, right? Isn't that the famous quote that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance?
Right. And that's the thing. You're going to play whack-a-mole your whole life trying to stop every single thing from getting things you don't want from you. You're not going to win. Eventually, you're going to get tired. It's tiresome. It's tiresome to fight this alone. And we need to congregate this and tell as a group, like you said, the petitions where you need 10,000 people to go, no, I don't want this in my life. We should be able to opt out. And there's even those theories of not theories, but folks who say, well, then don't live in those areas. Well, why is it that I can't go live somewhere else? And now they're putting all those things up over where I'm at too. There's not a way to get away from it anymore.
Let me ask you guys a question here.
What did he put up there again?
Which one? The one that we want to say there? The ALPR
Yeah,
legislation?
I wanted to see that.
If you press comments and stuff there, I think on the chat.
Okay.
But yeah, he's pushing towards the legislation and getting these things corrected, and the way things are versus how they should be are two different things. And he's making it the way it should be is what he's truly doing, and that's what's so great about it. And with this, let me ask you guys this question, and this just popped into my head. If you guys had access to all this data and information, like the circle there on a map, and it tells you exactly who went there at what time, and it gives you a profile on everything about these people, and it's all this information was open to the world, like transparent, would you look at the information if it was on some website that you could just click through, even anonymously, like through a VPN and things like that? Would you look at this information that they have, the information that they look at, and it was open to everybody? Would you look on the information and see what's going on in these areas? Because here's the thing: is like I feel like I would be tempted to be like, man, that's really cool. I want to see what's actually going on and form my own opinion on things and stuff. But the adult version of me that's living today, no, I wouldn't look at these things. But what do you guys think? And what do you guys think most people would do if they had access to this information?
I would absolutely look at the information in a very targeted way. What I would do is all the times when senators go and they have a vote behind closed doors and we don't get to know who screwed us over, I would tell the world who screwed us over. That's the only thing I could think of off the top of my head. That I would absolutely use it for that. I feel like if there's any way to figure out who's going to these closed door meetings and plotting against us, sure, but no, it's just, and that's the problem.
The thing is what they're telling us is happening versus what's actually happening and stuff. And I'm happy you said that, because that's a lot of people are like, hey, if there's some motherfucker shit going on in this bubble, excuse my language, I want to see what motherfucker shit's going on in this little bubble myself and form my own opinion, my own conclusion about that. That's the thing. It's like, is it any different from us getting this information, say, on platforms like Reddit, where people are posting all these things, posting pictures of an area and stuff, and look, it's look who's in that picture. Look, they found Waldo. whatever the
I
case
mean,
may be and stuff. Is it that different?
And I think
look,
this
you
brings up
should.
a big like moral dilemma question, right? Where it's like, it's kind of like what you see on Facebook with these gossip groups and people looking
I
and
want to know who lives there.
stalking their neighbors and complaining like, oh, this guy
That.
was driving too fast on my road, and this type, like
What
the
about
Karen type behavior
stalkers?
that you see. And it's really like, do I want to see some of that sometimes? Is it somewhat interesting? Sure. But then I would also, as soon as you look at that type of stuff, don't you feel shame for yourself? Like, would you want
Listen,
somebody doing that to you? Like that's
you should be allowed to opt in or opt out. Like let's say,
exactly,
when I had
consent is so important.
when my
Exactly.
kids were little, I gave them phones because I wanted to track when they walked home from school, and I put their location on so I could watch my kids, make sure that they're coming home from school right before I came home, like in a half hour later. And I just didn't, I wanted to make sure they were safe, and it wasn't that far, but I just wanted to know. Yeah, so yes, in that purpose, I would want to know, but I would want to be able to see it and not let other people see where my kids are walking, number one. And number two, I wouldn't want to be forced to opt into that myself if I'm driving to go pick up my kids at school. I don't want someone to be able to track me going to go do that and know that I
Can
left
we
my house
can we bring
unattended.
that comment back up for Mrs. CMS and put it
Yeah,
on the
I
screen
liked what
there?
she
Because
said.
I think that's important. Here's the thing: is like when it comes to neighbors, I don't want to
There's
know
lists
you.
for that though.
I don't want to talk to you. If you're my neighbor, I don't want anything to do with you. Here's the thing: it's like, and that's if they have all this data and information and stuff already available to them and stuff, they can already come at you in a new way and stuff, right? They know all this stuff that you never gave to them. That's what privacy is the
True.
ability to share information with somebody when you choose, right? To create that memory
Mhm.
between you and whoever it is. Now, if somebody's got all this information on, the household and all these things, here's the thing: it's like there's a reason why I don't want anything to do with neighbors and stuff, and there's a reason why I want them to stay away from me. Don't even wave at me. I mean, I'll smile. That's the thing is, I'll be as polite as I
Absolutely.
can for interacting and stuff. But my space is my space, and that's the thing is, I just don't trust people in this world anymore. Even in the sense of, I just seen how mean people can be when I was being extremely kind. Now give them an arsenal of things that they can use against you or bring up to get other people on board with whatever bullshit they come up with. So that's why when it comes to neighbors and stuff like that, I'm just like this: stay away. But that's the thing is when people want to purchase a house and things like that, yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. You kind of want to see who's living there, what it's about, and stuff like that. But
There's
to
lists for
that,
that though.
yeah,
You
there's
know,
already lists for that, and that to that degree and stuff. I say just go to your car,
you
or
could
get
check
out of
the
your car,
crime in your area.
walk up and down the street, and kind of get a
Yes.
gist of what's going on. You see people
Talk to
watering the
your neighbors.
lawn, you see people having a cookout, things like this, and I think that's really getting to know your neighbors. If you really want to see who's living there and what they're about and stuff, go knock on their door with a pie and say hello,
We should
say
talk
hi.
to our neighbors again if
Yeah, and
we
that's the
want
thing.
to.
I mean, that's the thing too. It's like, um, if you want to search these neighborhoods and see who's there and what they're about, I kind of feel like maybe that's something that you can use to know who you can stay away from, right? But that's the thing too. Is like there's moral reasons and better ways to go about things than invading people's
Yeah.
privacy is kind of where I stand with it. What about you? Is that Carissa? Can't see.
Carissa.
My screen is so small. It's good to see you here, Carissa. I asked the question here is with geofencing, Carissa, it's think about a bubble on a map, and that's the warrant. Instead of having a warrant on one single person, they have a warrant on an area. And from this area, they can get and pull as much information on everybody in that bubble that they can. Here's the question I asked just before you joined, is if all this data and information was open and free and you could see what's going on around in your neighborhood in this bubble and stuff, and it was okay for you to look at, would you do it?
My curiosity, probably, to be
I mean,
honest.
browse. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like a very curious person. As for, I know with churches in California and also other churches across the US, they are doing geofencing. I know Calvary Chapel churches in California are also a huge part of the geofencing that ties into Israel.
Wow.
So I don't like that.
So that's the
But
thing is the answer is yes. And I think that's what most people would say too is, yeah, they're absolutely going to look at this. You know how many people I've been around in life that I look over and they're just like straight up stalking somebody on social media and they're
oh yeah,
openly chatting about this stuff. Like, look at this post. Look, I'm like, whoa, I'm like, this kind of messed up that they're doing that stuff. But how often have you guys seen that? Whether you guys
Well,
have seen it or done this yourself and stuff, people are
All the
curious.
time.
They want to know.
people will they'll do stuff to like where they want to stalk their ex, but their ex will block them. So they'll work out a deal with their friend, be like, okay, you follow my ex and you stalk them for me and show me everything they're doing, and I'll stalk your ex for you and show you all their information. Yeah, people
Isn't
are
that
crazy
gross?
with that. That's really
I've
bizarre.
seen that. I've
Yeah, they call that
I've
gang
seen that.
stalking level stuff. That's fuck that. It's crazy. And
Sure
that's
it
the thing is
is.
it's just how people are. It's just how it is. And it's scary that we live in a world where it's already like that. We already how much information do people just give out on social media as it is? Like they're like, when I did use these platforms before, I don't now, thank God. Is people would show that, hey, I'm checking into this airport, I'm checking into this hotel, I'm here at this stuff. Like, why are you sharing this information with
Yeah.
people? Like, nobody gives a shit, first off. And
Mhm.
second off, and stuff is it's raising it's alarming more bells and sounding off the whistles and horns and stuff like that for what things are leading to. And
Yeah.
if people are just giving this information away willingly to these I would call them what they think is oligarchs or something like Mark Zuckerberg. I'm going to keep my opinion to myself on him and Meta and Facebook and things like that. But if people are just giving this information freely and stuff, I think people just really on the gist of things, it's like socially acceptable now to just violate people's privacy, and that's kind of messed up.
It sure is messed up. It's not even remotely okay. And it's, I wish that people would, understand that there needs to be boundaries and lines that you don't cross. I understand if you're trying to, if like, let's say the police are trying to, investigate something or they're trying to see if someone's doing something that's illegal or, stuff like that. Yeah, I get it. But when it comes to making that information so easily interceptable to people who you don't want tracking you, like, yeah, what if you don't want your ex that's kind of crazy to start stalking you and your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and you want your privacy in your new life, and these people are just trying to watch you, and it's just creepy, and how people can be.
And that's the thing
it,
is we're human
yeah, they
beings, and
shouldn't be able to do that.
we're being
Sorry.
exploited on just multiple levels here. Let me ask you all this question too: is with geofencing, here, let's put a hypothetical question out there that you're like the empress or the emperor of the world. You're the you're the head honcho of the world and stuff, and your duty is to protect it or something like this, right? Can you think of any scenarios in which geofencing would be acceptable? I mean, even globally, not just here in the United States, but what about these other countries that are going to start doing this loophole? What's your take on this? Like, if you put yourself in the shoes of the ones that would need this or be doing this, is there any instances in the world where you think it's okay to violate a whole sector of people's privacy and get as much information on them as you can? Is there anywhere or anything that you guys can
In a
think of?
perfect world, in a perfect world, um, I think that's where we always try to focus. That's always how they picture it. They always picture it from a perfect world where nothing gets exploited, nothing gets abused. But that's the first thing that happens every time. So if that wasn't happening, if they made it to where it wasn't exploitable, it wasn't abused, they had checks and balances, something we don't really have anymore in this country. Um, it's insane to me that that they would make it so vulnerable, knowing that people abuse and exploit these things. It's almost like they do it on purpose.
It is like that. And can you think of any reasons that it would be acceptable to have this
Yeah,
geofencing anywhere in the world?
yeah. I mean, I like in certain situations, like for government to do it, I don't really think so. But for like a private institution, private property, or whatever, and they inform everybody before they come into that geofenced zone. So you have the option to say, no, I'm not coming in there. Then I personally don't see a problem with that. Like if you have a company with highly sensitive information and you want to be really careful about it, If you want to set up a geofence perfectly on your own property, and everybody gets to learn about that before they come into that zone and decide if they still want to come in there, that I don't have a problem with. But a government doing it and law enforcement doing it and just picking and choosing when and where they're going to do it, and also like there's no regulations on, you know, how much of a time
Yeah.
span or how big of an area they can be. So like there's times where they really have no idea, and it's literally just a fishing expedition. They're like, let's just take this whole neighborhood, you know, for the whole afternoon, and we'll see if we can come up with anything. And they'll use that sometimes. Like there'll be, you know, an area that's known for gang activity, and something will happen. Somebody will get robbed. So they'll use that and they'll say, oh, we need information on everybody in that entire neighborhood for that entire day so we can see everything everybody in this gang was doing, none of which had anything to do with that robbery, but they know that they can get away with that. So they use it to like collect intel that they're not supposed to. But the problem is those locations are usually like, you know, apartment complex where, yes, there might be a bunch of bad people, and there's also a bunch of innocent people who are there too, who are now all being violated just because it's an easy way for them to get information on a gang.
And here's the thing,
That's a
and
great
a
point.
reminder on this, guys, is that it's not just the government. This is happening through Google, through your phones, through your home internet, through your routers, through your friends' phones, through your TVs. All these things are sending off this information, and that's what locates you within an area, and that's where the geofence comes in for people to see who entered this area. This is already happening. This is
And that's
here.
Yeah,
This is
that's
in
a
our
great point
home.
too. It's not just the government; it's corporations too. Like imagine there's already, you know, say you go to a restaurant, you go to a McDonald's or whatever, and then they've geofenced their restaurant, and now you get sent a targeted ad if they ping that your phone has been there and say, "Oh, come on back, we'll give you $5 off." Now, while that might not sound so bad, I don't want them having that information.
That's
You know, it's
annoying.
like that's great that you're going to give me $5 off or whatever to come back, but do I want you to have that information on me? And then who do you share that information with? So now everybody in the world knows that I went to a whole bunk bar and grill on a Thursday afternoon and got a cheeseburger. Like it's not. Whenever you run these scenarios to their end point, it always ends up bad. That's why I
And
just
that's
don't think the geofencing thing in general is it's nonsense.
that's the truth. And when it comes to if I can think of any areas in the world that deserve this geofencing, that even like deserve to have their information siphoned from the people, there's just no area I can think of. And this is because I value different things. You know, with these warrants and stuff, it's, you know, the justice system. What is it? It's just to protect us from the bad and the wicked in this world. But that's the thing, is you can't protect us from the bad and the wicked in this world. The only thing that you can do is to value the good and protect that. And that's the thing, is we're just not seeing how these things protect any of us. We're seeing how this stuff violates all of us. But what about you,
It's just
Carissa?
documenting.
We'll start with you, Nathan. Can you think of any reasons that this would be acceptable anywhere in the world, whether it's Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, you know, Iran? These things, bring these into the equation stuff if you want to. But is any of this acceptable to have these bubbles of information on
I
people?
just feel like the issue is always going to end up that, you know, who gets access to all this data in the end, and how accurate is it? Like you were always
Yeah.
saying, we're humans, not data points, right? So whatever you can train the AI or algorithm to think of, well, if this data point is connected to this data point, then XYZ, ABC, you know, that means
And that is
yeah,
how it is.
maybe
It's all connected. And this type of information and stuff that's bought and sold, sprinkled and whatever. But you know, this information could be used to be like, hey, we know what's going on in this neighborhood. Let's drop a bomb on them. And I'm pretty sure somewhere in the world has had this thought and is probably
oh,
like
right,
involved with that
exactly.
type of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely
Like they're
even
like,
more scary when you
they're like,
bring that into it, and militarily, like that's
oh, all these guys are Jews, or all these guys are Christians, or all these guys don't go to church.
oh, we
Let's
know
drop a
Hezbollah or Hamas or
Palestinians.
whatever was somewhere.
these
So we're gonna. This person was
these
associated with this other person, so now we're connecting 7 different dots, and it's like you don't even have the proof for any of this stuff. This is all just made up data points. It's
Yeah.
zeros and ones.
Yeah. What if I let somebody borrow my car? Does that put me in the area because they drove into a geofenced area and my car started
Right.
pinging things? That's scary to me. It puts you in I mean, it's not even hypothetical situations. This shit is
Mhm.
happening daily. What about you, Carissa? Can you think of anywhere in the world that this stuff is acceptable?
No, it leads me back to just the whole informed consent of
Yes.
the surveillance and the misuse of data of the average citizen. And once again, is it going to benefit the average citizen? No, because it's actively being used against the average citizens.
And
It's a
that's the thing
perfect
too
example.
you know, I've only known the United States, so you know, I've tried to be the best person I can be. But that's the thing in other countries and stuff. You know, the rules are different. You know, you know, they have, you know, the people that go into neighborhoods with guns, things like this. They have, you know, that's the thing is, Google this, and I shouldn't be bringing this up, but if you like look at how the cartel, they hire hackers and stuff like this to get the information, pull the information, so that
Is
they
that
can
what we
do
want?
that they can do cartel things and stuff like that. And the only way to protect us is no information. You can come on this show, and we welcome you to anybody to come on this show. Give us your perspective, give us your arguments. You want to call me stupid or anything like this? Go ahead. I want to be wrong. I don't want to be right. And that's the thing is that's what we're kind of looking for is with the perspectives. You guys have any questions out there? Just do a capital Q, a colon, and then type your question. And that's the thing is, guys, our eyes are open. They're wide open with this stuff. And you know, that's the thing is, you know, we see these topics and stuff kind of come up and then they disappear 2 weeks later and stuff. But there's some really eye-opening stuff out there. Can you think of anything out there, Chris, that opens our eyes? Microphone.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a daily thing. You know, like part of my job, we cover two news stories almost every day. And you know, when I first started doing that, I was like, "Is that going to be possible? Like, there's no way there's going to be that much." Oh my God, we couldn't possibly cover everything. Every single day, there's more happening. Whether it's just breaches and leaks, and you know, and now it's becoming much more common with all the age verification stuff. Like, because now everybody has everybody's data, so it's just leaking all over the place. And now you see there's like there was a story today. There was the mother load leak or something. It was like 163 million accounts, and it wasn't even a new leak. It was just people taking all previous ones and conveniently putting them all together so that you could have a bigger, more complete data set of more accounts and stuff like that. And it's getting worse every single day. And they keep adding more and more technology like this, then it's just going to keep getting worse. You know, and I want to think back. We were talking earlier about the idea of not having anything to hide, and we all live in this world of social media. Almost everybody's on social media today. And you know how it works. Like might see some video that is something you're not usually into, but it looks kind of interesting. So you click on it, you check it out for a few seconds. It's kind of interesting, whatever. Maybe you hit like, and then for months, they're trying to show you more videos like that. You're like, dude, I really don't care about knitting. It was one time, it looked kind of cool. Let it go, but it happens. So now you learn, like, when you see something on social media, like, maybe it's interesting, but I really don't want that to get attached to my profile. I don't want to start seeing that all the time. So you selectively think, should I click on that or should I not? That's all privacy is. It's doing that for the algorithm of your life. It's picking and choosing, like, okay, this part about me, maybe it's a little bit embarrassing, and if people know this about me, they might get the wrong idea about me. Because, like, we are these very complex creatures. And but still to this day, people try to break it down based on like a single characteristic about somebody. Like you meet somebody new and they're like, "Oh yeah, I play football," and you're like, "Oh, okay, I know about you. I know what kind of person you are." And it's like, no, you really don't. You don't know anything about them other than the fact that they play football. That's the one thing that you do know. But humans always try to do that. We try to categorize people as if we're all the same based on these weird little arbitrary likes and interests.
Mm-hmm.
So because we know that people do that, we have to try to hack the algorithm and say, this part of me I don't want to show people because they're going to think this about me, and that's not really the case. So there's certain parts of ourselves we don't want to show the world, and it's not that we're criminals. It's not that we're up to no good. It's just that we know that other people are going to assume the wrong thing about us. It's really preventing other people from being up to no good and taking one fact about you and trying to use that to discredit something important that you're saying or something of that nature. So that's all privacy is. It's trying to hack the algorithm of real life.
Yeah,
And
I think
the
that's a
thing
great
too.
point. And how much of all of this is just social engineering, where they know Like
A
Chris
lot.
and Shane were saying before, they know that we're curious people, right? Would you want to see all of the information that's of your neighbors that's going on around you? Yeah, probably. But do I want my neighbors seeing all of that information about me? Obviously not. So, and how much of that is just turning human curiosity into like an addiction and clickbait, you know? And now we can't even click on something that you might be interested in at the moment because that can be attached to you or your profile or whatever for the rest of your life. So who knows? So we
Or
need to get
someone sends you a
what?
link that's got something you
Right.
don't really wanted to see, but now you're gonna see that link everywhere because your friend sent you that link. You know, I've even seen trolls do it where they send you links of crap and just so that they can shit up your
And I've
feed.
seen it too where they send you stuff and you don't even click on it, but then it gets fed into your algorithm anyways.
Absolutely. It's a problem. I don't want it. We should be allowed to opt out of it. Like Carissa said, informed consent is the most important thing here. We are not consenting to these things. It's not consensual, you know, like get out of our space, you know, and we don't want to even think that, you know, what you're trying to do with that information because it's nothing good. Especially if you're innocent. And 10 years ago, I would have said, I've got nothing to hide, so why should I care? Well, now I care, and it's not right. It's not because I'm doing anything wrong either.
And that's the point. Is we're not doing anything wrong. And I think the last question I have for you guys and stuff is it's a really loaded question. How do we break the matrix? Because the only way to fight against this stuff is to break the matrix, right? We have to. What is the matrix? It's all the
It's a
systems
constant battle.
that exist. You know, all the constructs are there. So how do you really escape from all this stuff is really the question. And I think through engineering, through things like cryptocurrencies, through things like strong encryptions, for things like especially quantum encryption nowadays, is that even if we get this data and information out there, we're still at risk of losing that data. And that's the thing is that's being sought after in the EU right now. You know, they're facing a whole different battle. They want to get the data and information before it even leaves their people's devices, things like this. So our phones, our devices are already sending out all of this information, and that's what they get these geofence warrants for. And they draw a circle around us and stuff, and you know, classify us and label us as whatever they want. And it's just not acceptable because we do live in a world where we deserve anonymity, where we deserve privacy, where that if I want to sit out in the backyard in my lawn chair and there's some geofence, you know, warrant for the area and stuff like that, you know, I don't need my fucking phone snitching on me and stuff. That's just it's just wild that it's not even a theory or scenario that doesn't exist. It does exist and it is happening, and there's so much proof against it. And I think the more we open our eyes and have this awareness of this is really the starting point for all of this, is to accept these routes, these paths forward, because in this life the only way we can move is forward. We can move onward. And that, I think that's the most important thing too, is that we share this information and these technologies. And if anybody wants to reach out to us and say, hey, you guys are making some good points, but what can I do about it? Well, we actually have some solutions. We have some ideas and ideologies, and that is the cyberpunk movement, right? That's these are the people who believe and that the information between me and you, you know, should be within our control, and that's privacy, right? Privacy is the ability to share information with the world when we see fit, and that's I think that's something that the world's going to get to see moving into the future. I do foresee a future where I don't have to worry about, you know, some crazy people getting information and ruining my life, or people I care about's life. Things like this, whatever they use the information for, it shouldn't even be a worry. It shouldn't even be on my mind, and it shouldn't be on your minds. But here's the thing: is even if it's not on your mind, it's in the system, and you're not a number. You're not a human. You're a human being, and you don't belong in these systems. So I'll ask again: if you were to break the matrix, how would you, if you were, say, the neighborhood watch and stuff, and you were tasked with protecting your neighborhood, how would you protect your neighborhood? And Carissa, can you answer that? If you know there's a lot of wild stuff going around your neighborhood and you're in charge of protecting against all of that stuff, what steps do you take?
That's a yeah, that is a loaded question. The steps I would take to protect my neighborhood is to be vigilant, and if there's a problem going around, I would let my fellow neighbors know what's going on in the neighborhood, keep everybody as updated as possible with what's going on around them, as they should be. I don't really have an answer to escaping the matrix, but what I can say is going forward, continue to opt out and continue to say no. And you have to read and do your research about the laws that are being passed, what they're pushing, like the things that they were talking about this week at the World Economic Forum in Davos. We see how the government in the UK was pushing so hard for digital identification. And they will continue to push, no doubt about it, but because there was such a national uprise, they kind of held off on it for a little bit, because there was just, started with one person, and then it was just like a handful of people, giving people the information of what really is going on with the digital identification systems that they're pushing. And with geofencing and saying oh, it's gonna help protect people, and we could the pre-crime software type thing, it's the same thing with a digital identification, it'll protect your identity more for some reason. Or another thing that they say is millions of people don't have proper identification, so that's why we need to push this whole thing. But just continue to talk about it, and just say no. I don't think I think once people know what's really going on, I don't think they would be a part of it.
And that's the thing too, is they would opt out. And here's the thing: people can opt out. You can open the settings on your phone. You can disable Bluetooth and only enable it when you need it. And when you're traveling, you can disable Wi-Fi. Obviously, you can't connect to Wi-Fi while you're driving. But here's the thing: is your cell phone still will ping the towers, things like this. There are things like Faraday bags, these types of things. So if you don't want to be associated with something, if people are rioting the streets, and they are very much rioting in the streets right now. And if you're driving to work and you don't want to be associated with these things, and you don't want to be in these systems or classified as these people because you just want to live your normal life, whatever the reasons may be, you do have these options. You can turn them off, but you need to be aware of how they work. And it's more technical, and it would take a couple hours to explain how these things work. But your devices are being contacted by outside devices, and they are pinging things and giving out information on you, about you, and the people around you, and your location. And because everybody gives out this information unknowingly or knowingly and can't do anything about it, that is what is sought after as we see these statistics. Let me bring these statistics up again, just so that it sinks in. Geofence warrants received by Google per year: 2018, 982; 2019, 8,396; 2020 was 11,554. These are just the ones that we know about. In 2021, Google reports 25% of all law enforcement data it received were geofence requests. Let me tell you guys, it is 2026, and the information is not. That's just Google. All this information is now decentralized. It's Block, it's Palantir, it's Google, it's Apple, it's this, it's that, it's this app on your phone, it's this phone specifically, it's this device specifically going everywhere. So that's just one example of the type of information that's being sought after by these agencies, by whoever. And it's because all that data and information is there. They wouldn't be asking for these things if they weren't getting what they wanted. It would not increase in volume if they weren't getting what they wanted. What do they want?
That's very true.
Question.
Well, and
That
just
is
before
the real
we leave this topic on how to escape the matrix, I actually think what Chris has said was kind of brilliant there, in a way, where what does Morpheus say to Neo in the movie? He says, you have to believe. And what you do to believe, and not to be too corny here, but what it's really about is using your voice, right? And you have to tell your neighbors, and you have to put up a stink and make it known that you're not okay with these things, and inform the people around you, your families and friends and community, that this is not what you want the future to be like or the present.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
And also
when it comes down-
let people know these stories, like, you know, Jonathan from Bend, Oregon. Let people know the victories and that it is possible to make a difference. Like we've been convinced that we're just these little peasants that have no control and have no power, and what we think doesn't matter. And for so long they've just been pulling the strings and whatever. But the fact is, it's not true. Like, we actually can. They don't get a job without us voting for them. Like, we have the power. We just need to learn how to use it effectively, and that's a big issue. And, you know, I don't think it was a mistake. I mean, I think it was a mistake, but I don't think it was, you know, an accident that learning how to get involved in politics was no longer a part of our educational system. It used to be. You used to teach every American, this is how you affect change. This is how you make the country that you want to live in. This is how our country was set up so that we have the ability to work together to make it a better place. And that all got removed from the curriculum at one point. So now everybody has this idea that the powers that be pull the strings and we just have to deal with whatever they give us. And that's not true. You know, and people like Jonathan prove that. So it's important to really highlight those people and tell those stories to our family and friends. Like, we naturally, like, gravitate towards the scary stuff, the alarming stories, because they get you excited when you read about it. So, like, we see all these negative things about privacy, and those are usually the ones we share with everybody because we want to warn our friends, and that's cool. But it's really important to balance that out by showing the victories too, and say, hey, look, yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff, but we're winning too. We're fighting back and we're making something happen here. And that's why you need to fight back too. Every one of us has a bit of power. And if we all put that together, we can actually turn this around.
And that is the
Absolutely.
truth. We can turn this around. And it starts with us individually, it starts with community, and it starts with how we interact in our community. And that's the big thing here, is that it is a collective thing. We have to come together and discuss these things. And that's why next week we're going to be having a spotlight. We have special guests coming on the show in the upcoming weeks. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be wonderful. We have some special guests coming on our stream next Saturday, the 31st, and the week after that on the 7th. And we're very excited to speak with them. So that's going to be Dr. Padfield, PhD. He's an extremely intelligent man with a lot of knowledge he's gained throughout his impressive and diverse career. He runs Business Reform YouTube channel, discussing issues and the intersection of business, technology, and society. So the things that I love and, you know, you guys love too, where he makes a lot of excellent privacy related content, including flock cameras, Ring, data breaches, and more. So make sure you check out his channel. He's Dr. Padfield, and check out Business Reform. He is the assistant professor of business at the IU Columbus, and he's a president of Proper Brainchild, where he develops training workshops and consulting services. So there's people out there that are more involved with this than we are. So we have a voice, but guess what? There's now things that that other people have already spearheaded and led the ways on, and I think that's going to be exciting when it comes up with our upcoming streams. So we have just again another shout out to Mr. Padfield there. That we look forward to having this stream in the future, and we look forward to hearing from anybody that may be watching our videos on demand, or that may be just talking with us in the community on Discord, Telegram. We want to hear from you. If you have anything to say, and if you want to say this anonymously, feel free. We're trying to open up these avenues in which we have a voice, and that other people have a voice as well. And in respects to anonymity, being anonymous is the ability to be nobody. If you don't want to log into your Google accounts to send a comment on YouTube, just know that we can see you because we know that you're there, and just let you know that you guys are valued. And our guests are going to want to hear from people too. They want to see some perspective on things. If you want to play the devil's advocate, feel free. I want to say thanks again to Chris, Nathan, Susie, and Carissa. Your viewpoints on these things is we come from we're in a vast array of we come from different cultures, we come from different lifestyles, and everybody has a story to share in their life, right? But that's the thing, that's our story. That's not some fenced circle on a map for us to identify our story for us, and as sure as shit isn't for some Karen down the street to look into and stuff to spy on everybody.
You might
else.
have to make some T-shirts that say "I'm not a data point," huh?
Right? Yeah, I have a
I wear
data
that.
point
Love that.
for people that
I'll
want
wear
to invade our privacy and stuff, and that data point is encrypted. I'll say that. So I want to say thanks again. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. We don't want this to go too long. I'll just open it up again. If you guys want to have any of your outros, want to say thank you or anything, or if you have anything else to share, now is your time. I will start with you, Mr. Chris.
I just want to thank everybody for joining us. I'm really excited. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and I'm getting a lot of messages from people out of the show that they really like what we're doing, and they're excited to learn about these things. And I'm hoping that a lot more people are going to step up and join us on the stream. And just want to speak on that as well. You can come on. You don't have to use a camera if you don't want. You can literally hide and speak. We just want to give you a voice. You can come on directly to our StreamYard. You don't have to be connected through YouTube. You don't even need a YouTube account. You can do it anonymously. So you don't have to come on here. We're not going to make you violate your privacy to come talk about how you care about privacy. That's not what it is. So you can come on here and just have a voice, and you don't have to reveal anything about your true self. So don't be afraid. Come up. We really want to hear what you guys have to think. That's a big part of this. Like so far, we've been talking a lot, but we really want to hear what you guys have to say too. And I just also want to thank everybody who's joined us too. Susie and Carissa have joined us so far every time. I really appreciate that, and it's been great having you guys. So, thanks.
What about you, Nathan?
Well, Chris pretty much said everything I just want to say. I just think it's great that we're giving people a voice and then creating this community and making people feel comfortable with saying what they want to say and what's on their mind without having to be spied on.
Right, and it's really important. And Chris did give it to us clearly and stuff. Let's go ahead. Do you have anything to say out there, Susie? Use your voice.
Sure. We need to get together. The thing about this, what's going on right now is we're all being divided. We're all being conquered. We need to get together and say no to these things. They're just going to mow through it as quickly as they can, as hard as they can, because of the fact that they know that we aren't doing enough about it to protect ourselves. And get on here, get on whatever platform you can, and say no, say what you are feeling, and say how you feel violated by these things, and stand up for yourself and each other. We need that kind of camaraderie now.
We do need that camaraderie.
More than ever.
We need the heroes. We need
Yeah.
the heroes. We need the voices. We need the people committed to this. I'll tell you this right now. I live this life. I wake up every day, and the first thing I do is, we're working with BP, and we're working hard. And it's not just on one product or anything like this. This is a lifestyle that we live. We look at the technologies, the security behind things, and we look for ways in which we can open up doors for freedom for everybody. And that's just what we're about, what we do. So, Carissa, if you have anything else to say, if you want to close us out, go ahead. Have your voice.
I'm truly thankful for being a part of this and meeting all of you. And you all seem like really great people, and I love the conversations that we're able to have. And I'm just glad that people are coming on here, and that we're questioning the narrative, and we're putting the information out there, and that knowing that we're not alone and we have each other, and it'll get better. So thank you guys.
And thank you very much. And the last thing we have to say is the only path is forward. And guess what? The only word I have to say is onward. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Onward.
We build a safe place where the speech is always free. Where cypherpunks go to just hide and speak. Hide and speak. We stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak. Digital freedom, yeah, that is our choice. Hide and speak. Privacy doesn't mean not having a voice. Hide and speak. What you want to share is only your choice. Hide and speak.
The early internet was the wild, wild west. Strange. Free. We explored, we broke things. And yes, we failed. No rules. And that was beautiful. But times have changed. We hesitate. We censor ourselves because we know they're watching. Surveillance kills curiosity, turning the internet from a frontier of hope into a cage of silence. And your VPN? It's based on trust. For let's be real, nobody has ever lied to me, said nobody ever. Yet true privacy is still within reach. vp.net doesn't rely on trust, it runs on real-time proof. Because privacy is about becoming your truest self when no one's watching. So you can be the best you when they are. Otherwise be an NPC, a digital product, and lose. vp.net, don't trust, verify.